What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. Today we'll be doing an InFocus on Isaiah and Eli Bradley from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let's just get right into it. Isaiah Bradley we have mentioned in our Theory Palooza, and so watch the video here if you haven't already. But Isaiah Bradley, he was one of 300 African-American soldiers used as test subjects at Camp Cathart as part of Project Rebirth, an attempt to recreate the super soldier serum, which only worked on Steve Rogers. Isaiah was one of a handful of survivors and the only one to survive the covert missions that they were sent on. He did take the mantle of Captain America, but this was not widely known. And for taking that mantle, he was, the military viewed this as treason, and he was sentenced to life in prison, but released after 17 years of solitary confinement, which did a number on his mental health.
So Dave mentions that they put him in jail for supposedly stealing the mantle of Captain America, which bullshit in my opinion. They put him in jail for 17 years, or it was originally supposed to be a life sentence. In the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he mentions that they put him in jail for 30 years, which is nuts.
You know, and in the current era of the comics universe, you know, he is considered by a lot of the African-American heroes as like an icon of sorts. And there's actually an issue where Black Panther gets married that he's invited. And it's kind of funny because all of them are like, oh my God, he's here. You know, Black Panther got him here. You know, that's awesome. And Wolverine's like, who's that? And Luke Cage says, oh, he's the original me. And I just thought that was really, you know, well done. And I think maybe they're going to get there in the MCU, that once Sam finds out and they've kept this hidden from everybody, it's going to be a little more widespread in the MCU that there was a second Captain America, and it was Isaiah Bradley.
If you take a look in the comics, Isaiah Bradley had it super hard. And we actually see this in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier as well. We notice that he has not lived a life of glamour. He's not known to the greater world that he was, that he had the mantle of Captain America, as Dave and Keith said. It wasn't really known what all he had done for the country, how he had saved so many people, how he had fought countless Nazis, how what an expert he was. And in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that's presented as well. He's shown to have gone on countless missions, even fought the Winter Soldier, who they had to bring him in specifically to fight the Winter Soldier because nobody else could deal with him. So I think it's very interesting that they do carry this on. One thing, though, in the comics is that when they do eventually show him, it's shown that the super soldier serum has unfortunately regressed his mind, and there isn't much left of him. In fact, when Captain America does finally get to meet his predecessor, or one of the other Captain Americas, basically, when Steve Rogers gets the chance to meet him, it's sad in a way, but it's also kind of nice. It's kind of hard to talk about in a way, because it's nice that Steve finally gets a little bit of closure on what this project did and how it affected people, but at the same time we see what the super soldier serum did to another person.
And Eli Bradley is the grandson of Isaiah, and in the comics he becomes Patriot, leader of the Young Avengers. He was born in the comics with no superhuman abilities, but he gets his powers when a younger version of Kang the Conqueror traveled to present day to stop his future self. He recruited Avengers to help him, and one of these recruits was Josiah Bradley. Josiah had been out of touch with the family for years, so Eli lied to Kang and told him he had received a blood transfusion to make him a super soldier, and then he began taking the illegal mutant growth hormone to gain superhuman abilities. Will that happen here? I don't know.
I definitely don't think we're going to see the mutant growth hormone show up in the MCU yet. If we do see Eli get powered up at all in Falcon and Winter Soldier, which honestly, I don't know if there's enough time left in the season for that to happen. I do think it'll be he, because in the comics at one point, he is critically injured. and he gets a blood transfusion from Isaiah, and then he gets kind of not a full dose of super soldier serum, but partial, enough to make him superhuman. So I do think if anything happens in this season or later on, it gives him superpowers, it will be his grandfather, saving his life after a critical injury.
Now, the guys brought up one of these other characters, Josiah Bradley, who ends up going by the superhero name Josiah X. Kind of badass, in my opinion. So we've already seen one of these doctors show up in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier who had something to do with the super soldier serum, and that's Dr. Wilfred Nagel. Now, in the comics, he's actually set back like before the Vietnam War era. This is quite a ways ago. He had something to do with how Isaiah got his powers, but he's also very specific on how Josiah, who is Eli's uncle in a way, how he got his powers. And if you think that it was twisted, what we've already told you about the backstory of Isaiah Bradley, it gets even weirder with Josiah. So we find out that they are doing whatever it takes to try to recreate the super soldier formula, even going so far as to attempt to get genetic material from Isaiah and from his wife to form a child in incubation. And so that's what they do, and that's where they get Josiah. They find out that he basically received super soldier powers from genetics. Mutants, anybody? So in the comics, if you guys want to check this out, there's a whole series where Josiah features. It's called The Crew. He ends up teaming up with a lot of other heroes at the time, and they're fighting bad guys. And he's got a really badass costume. You should definitely check it out if you want more information about that. But I'm wondering if he is going to make an appearance in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We'll just have to wait and see.
And Doug was talking about how Josiah was, created with Isaiah and Faith's, basically genetics, but there was a third surrogate who basically gave birth to him and kind of raised him. And she does eventually come to Isaiah's wife, letting her know that this is actually her kid and all of that. And it's kind of, once again, Doug was talking how messed up all this is. I mean, they really did a number on the whole Bradley family. And I think you can see how, Isaiah acts towards Sam, towards Bucky in this episode. You can kind of understand why he would be this angry with people. I mean, his life was not the same as Steve Rogers once he was granted these powers and really helped America during wartime.
Well, that's the information that we gathered about the Bradleys. If you have any more, why don't you just drop it in the comments below, and we'll see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.